broadcast bring you this important bulletin from the United Press. Flash, Washington. The White House announces Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
On December 7, 1941, a date that President Franklin D. Roosevelt claimed would live in infamy, the Imperial Japanese Navy conducted a surprise aerial assault on Pearl Harbor, a U.S. naval base near Honolulu, Hawaii. This unprovoked attack brought the United States into World War II, as it immediately declared war on Japan.
At 6 a.m., 6 Japanese carriers launched a first wave of 181 planes, including torpedo bombers, dive bombers, and fighters. The United States handled anti-aircraft guns and even got some airplanes off the ground. In all, they were able to shoot down 29 Japanese planes. 8 battleships, 3 cruisers, and 4 destroyers were present during the bombing. The base was attacked by 350 Japanese Imperial aircrafts in total. The Japanese also destroyed more than 340 American planes. The surprise attack did not destroy the entire American Pacific Fleet.
The USS Nevada was the only vessel that could be pulled away from a line of moored U.S. ships during the surprise attack. They salvaged most of the ships, but 2 remained at the bottom, the USS Arizona and the USS Utah. Less than 2 hours after the surprise attack, every battleship in Pearl Harbor had sustained significant damage.
The Wicks-class destroyer USS Ward attacked and sank an undercover Japanese Kohyoteki-class small submarine near the entrance to the harbor intended to penetrate the harbor before the attack began. It made it the first shot fired that day and the first official American shot of the war.
The attack on Pearl Harbor left more than 2,400 Americans dead and shocked the nation. Half the deaths occurred in the Arizona, which took a direct hit. Brothers would typically serve together on the same ship. There were 37 pairs of trios/brothers, 75 men in total, and only 1 set of brothers was left. Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd president, immediately urged Congress for a declaration of war. 1 member of Congress voted against war with Japan. The vote was 388 to 1. The 1 was the passionate pacifist and first woman in Congress, Jeannette Rankin. Many people desperately tried to persuade her, but she refused. President Roosevelt needed to make the American citizens feel safe and comfort them during this moment of crisis and disaster. He also needed to convince Americans to support the war effort.
I ask that the Congress declare that since the unprovoked and dastardly attack by Japan on Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
Japan's motivation for attacking Pearl Harbor was driven by its political self-interests, lack of economic resources, and perceived benefit and gain. There was also America's embargo policy, which banned exporting oil and iron to Japan. Japan wanted to become the most powerful nation in Asia. Japan aimed to prevent the United States Pacific Fleet from interfering with its planned military actions in Southeast Asia against overseas territories of the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, and those of the United States. The Japanese government allied with Nazi Germany in the Axis alliance. England joined the war with the United States after Japan attacked British territories and colonies in South and Southeast Asia. Japan had planned the attack for months and practiced launching torpedoes by adding wooden fins to them. Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto came up with the Pearl Harbor attack, and Captain Minoru Genda planned it. A novel published by Bywater in 1925 called The Great Pacific War inspired Yamamoto's Pearl Harbor idea. It added to Bywater's ideas about a future clash between Japanese and U.S. naval forces.
Though Japan had what seemed like a foolproof plan to surprise the United States and cause enough damage to cripple the Navy, the attack on Pearl Harbor was considered a partial failure for the forces of Imperial Japan. There would have been more significant damage if they targeted different areas instead of concentrating on just destroying the battleships of the U.S. Navy.
The attack had completely failed in its objective to destroy the Pacific Fleet completely. The Japanese bombers missed oil tanks, ammunition sites, and repair facilities. Another big mistake of the whole attack is the Japanese underestimated the United States and paid for it. Japanese Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto reportedly wrote in his diary, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve."
The attack on Pearl Harbor led to a period of national unity, an end to American isolationism, and the beginning of the superpower status of the United States. The immediate national anger from the American people gave the realization that Pearl Harbor was a turning point in national history and there was no looking back. On the other hand, Japanese civilians viewed the actions of Pearl Harbor as a justified reaction to the economic ban by Western countries. Pearl Harbor marked a shift in the course of America and world history. It led the frontier in national security and emergency communication. Initially, when American radar detected approaching planes, it only gave a 1-hour warning. Miscommunication and inexperience didn't let the warning reach the right people. CBS attempted to contact Honolulu and Manila but failed.
The Pearl Harbor attack left an enormous environmental effect, as well as it led to the frontier being added to the Environmental Protection Agency's national priority list in 1992. When the battleships were bombed, over 5 million gallons of oil will spill into the harbor. To this day, 2 to 9 quarts of oil are still coming out of the sunken Arizona. In the summer of 1944, American bomber aircrafts were able to strike Japanese cities and destroy large areas of Japan's major cities, which caused enormous casualties. On August 6, 1945, the Japanese city of Hiroshima was hit by an atomic bomb known as Little Boy. Its blast and radiation effects killed more than 100,000 people. In the days following, on August 15th, Emperor Hirohito announced Japan's surrender and let it be known to General MacArthur that he was prepared to apologize formally for Japan's actions during World War II.
The attack on Pearl Harbor was later judged in the Tokyo trials, which occurred from May 1946 to November 1948, as a war crime due to Japan attacking first. 28 defendants, mostly imperial military officers and government officials, were charged with war crimes against peace and humanity.
Waimami was Pearl Harbor's original name. The Hawaiian word for Pearl Harbor is Pu'uloa, known as Long Hill. Later named Pearl Harbor for the pearl oysters once harvested from the waters. The natural harbor is the largest in Hawaii. A memorial was built above the Arizona and opened on May 30th, 1962. It is visited by over 2 million people daily.
The bombing of Pearl Harbor was a pivotal moment in United States and world history. Pearl Harbor came without warning and was followed by simultaneous Japanese attacks across the Pacific against both U.S. and British territories, including Hong Kong, Guam, Wake, Midway, the Philippines, and Malaya.
The attack drove the United States into World War II and set in motion a series of events that led to frontiers that would transform the country into a global superpower and guardian of international order. It's a lesson learned from every tragic event. The more united we stand, the better off we will be.